Two dumpy broads up your ass, a father in jail. I'd like getting hit too. I've tried that. It doesn't work.
It is so nice to meet you all. I love this film, so I'm so excited to talk to you about it. To start off, Vincent, you are the director, among many other things on this project. So what made you want to get involved?
One of our exec producers, brought me a script from Will Janowitz, and I read it, and as simple as that, I fell in love with the story and characters and showed it to our team, investors at Randomix, and it all kind of happened really quick. Actually, we read it and it was something we were looking to do, and spent a few months kind of getting a deal in place, and then went out to Tim, and there we go. We're ready to go. I think the script spoke for itself, and just kind of fell in love with the story. And I grew up with boxing in my life, and it was the sort of story I wanted to say.
Well, Andrew and then Tim, I'd love to hear what drew you to the project as well.
I auditioned for it. It came in from my team, a mixed kid who's a boxer, and I grew up boxing, so kind of fit perfectly. And I had this long curly hair, and Vince liked the tape, and then I told him after he said he liked the tape, I was like obsessed with it. I loved the script. I watched all of Vince's movies. I watched all of Tim's movies, and I just told Vince, I think, that I would like shave my head before the callback. He was like, "Relax, bro. Don't. What are you doing?" That's kind of it. All kind of worked out.
That is dedication to the role. Awesome. Yeah, then Tim, what about you?
Vince had asked me to do another one of his movies, and I liked the way he had approached me about that. He'd written a wonderful letter, and then with this one as well. And I'd always thought about Vince because his first movie had interested me, and he had interested me. And I'm very much led by material and director. And this script made a lot of sense. I thought that the central conceit of the movie, which has a wonderful misdirection in it without spoiling the film, in which you think that it's going to fit into certain narrative tropes that are really not only acceptable but expected in a boxing movie. The film really swerves in an interesting way toward deeper truths. It sort of brings to mind that Harold Clurman quote that you want to get an audience laughing so that their mouth is open and you can put the food in, whatever food you want. And that's kind of what this movie does in a wonderful way. And I met with Vince and his producers and realized that Vincent's vision for the movie was going to be satisfied, and they were going to support him as a director. And that also I would get what I needed in terms of prepping for the role to do it justice. And at that point, I joined with all zeal.
Well, yeah, when you first stepped into the role, Bernard Bang Bang is filled with so much anger. He's very closed off. What was it like to encompass a character like that?
Well, again, thanks to the producers, I was supported with, I got a lot of prep time for the role. And unlike Andrew, had done no boxing. I should also mention that Vince, having been a boxer, gave me a lot of confidence because I knew that there was a leader for this project in Vince who was going to keep me honest and make sure I always did look like I was a boxer. Because even though I trained pretty much 5 and 6 days a week for 6 weeks for the movie, that's really not. I knew that wasn't going to be sufficient, and I was going to need for Vince to keep me honest, which he did. That said, the training and being around boxers and I just assimilating a certain kind of energy around the gym helped with this character a good deal. But that isn't to say that at the end of the process, there wasn't a glide path out of it where my wife was saying to me for a few weeks, who the fuck are you? When I got home and had a lot of the character still in me. And I don't mean that in a pretentious or precious way. It's just a fact.
Well, one of the main driving points of this film is also the relationship between Bernard and his grandson. So, Andrew, how would you say Justin feels about his grandfather when we first see him in the film?
I think it's interesting. I think Justin is in a place where he's looking for who he is and looking for a sense of purpose. And he doesn't have a relationship with his grandfather, and his mom doesn't like her dad. So in turn, he kind of feels put off by him, but he's curious. And I think throughout the movie, you kind of see this messy relationship, but also a young man without a male role model or influence. But then, Bang starts coaching and Bang starts training him, and they kind of form a loving relationship in a messy way.
It's really interesting to watch that rapport build on screen. So I am curious what the two of you did, and Vincent, the direction you gave as well to kind of build that dynamic.
I mean, the thing with indie films and every film I've done, you never really have much time to rehearse or anything like that. So, you get them together and you hope you made the right decision in terms of a chemistry sense. Like we had a couple calls, I think, with Drew and Tim, just to kind of get to know each other. And Tim had participated in the final callback with Andrew. And so we were able to get as much as we could going before. But, with films like this, you throw them into the fire and let them do their thing. You've entrusted them to kind of do their homework with the roles, and they come very prepared. And I think that goes, that's everything, because you don't have all that time while shooting. You just don't. And so my thing with films and actors is just when you're there, I'm over prepared. So it's guiding them like spirits. If there's a little thing that's off, that's all. I mean, that's really it. I mean, and Tim with the boxing, like he said, for me, it wasn't even about him training to look, to be in shape. It was more about, and I spoke to the trainer, this guy named Martin Snow, who was working with him in pre-production. And it was just like, hey man, he was a boxer. And I just wanted any mechanics that Tim's character as an older man now, and a veteran of the sport, even if it's just the subtlest shadow boxing demonstration, I need the audience to buy it, or else this movie will fall apart, because there's elements in the movie that, I don't want to spoil anything, that he needs to be believable or it just doesn't work.
Well, Andrew and Tim, you said that neither of you had a boxing background, correct?
No, Andrew did.
I boxed a bit growing up, and then in preparation for the film, I did kind of a little intensive, a bit of training, and I was doing a lot of weightlifting training as well. So yeah, I did a little bit growing up, and then in preparation for the film, I spent around I had a month, I think, not even until I was in Kentucky.
That droopy eye, Andrew was just punching himself.
Yeah, it wasn't makeup. I did that myself.
Well, then, Tim, on the other side of things, how do you feel about boxing now that you have kind of come into this and gotten to do it for a bit?
Well, I certainly haven't returned to it, but I have a new understanding and a new appreciation for it, and I think that probably with most sports, you can't really appreciate it until you've practiced it. even at a superficial level, which is still what I did. Although, you know, by the end I was sparring and really boxing. It was, you know, a great process, but I certainly admire boxers in the sport in a way that I didn't beforehand. I'll just put it that way.
Well, Vincent, you touched on this a little bit earlier, but can you give a bit more insight into what you have to keep in mind when you are putting these sequences together and trying to capture them properly on screen?
I mean, the sport is it's a dangerous sport. It's one that you have to basically, you're a gladiator. You get in the best condition of your life to then get punched and beat up. And there's a lot of guys and girls that do this. And for me, it's about respecting it and understanding their process going through this, because this movie really is about what boxers are left with post-career. And a lot of times it's a really dark, awful place that they're alone, they're forgotten, as no matter how big they were in the sport. I mean, a lot of times most boxers, except if you're like a Mike Tyson or Ali, like it's old news, and the audience and your fame is kind of dissipated, and you're left with whatever you got, if you have any of your brain left. And it's one of those things that I you know, my grandfather was a fighter, like a Golden Gloves fighter in New York, or in Detroit, in Saginaw, Michigan, in the 40s. So it really connected to me, especially where this story goes. So it's just about, you know, honoring that profession in a way that I thought was respectful and had humor and the things that move you in movies.
Well, lastly, Tim, while I have you, I gotta ask, because we got a bunch of MCU fans on Screen Rant, if there is anything you can share about your return in Brave New World.
Very excited about it, and I'm headed to Atlanta tomorrow to continue working on that. And I'm just, I think it's been very exciting to bring back a character from 16 years ago, and imagine how he has aged with me and how that has manifested. And the Marvel team has come up with a really interesting explanation revelation, I should say, as to what he's been up to for 16 years and why.
Well, we are all very excited, and I can't wait for everybody to see Bang Bang. Congrats on this premiere, guys, and thanks so much for chatting with me.
Thank you.
It's our pleasure.
I said hit your grandpa. Snap it. Snap it. Like this, like a piston. Now that's how you hit your grandpa.